Listen carefully, because this moment is not random. There is a reason your eyes are reading these words right now. A reason your spirit feels stirred, unsettled, maybe even slightly shaken. You didn't just come across this message. You were guided here, directed, positioned, because heaven needed to get your attention before something critical unfolds in your life. And yes, this is urgent. There are moments in life when everything seems ordinary on the surface. The same routines, the same conversations, the same patterns repeating themselves. But beneath that surface, something is shifting. Something is moving in the unseen realm. And if you are sensitive enough, if you are aware enough, you can feel it, that quiet tension, that unexplainable pull, that sense that something is about to change. That is not your imagination. That is divine interruption. And right now, Archangel Michael has stepped into your path, not physically, but spiritually, to redirect your attention. Because you were about to overlook something important. You were about to dismiss a signal. You were about to continue forward without realizing that heaven has been trying to reach you. But not anymore. You are here now. And that changes everything. There are no coincidences in the spiritual realm. Every encounter, every message, every sudden pause in your day carries intention. And this moment, this exact moment, has been arranged with precision. Because there is something you need to hear before it's too late to respond correctly. You may have felt distracted lately, pulled in different directions, confused about what step to take next. Maybe you've even questioned your own intuition, wondering if you're overthinking things or reading too deeply into situations. But what if you're not? What if the discomfort you've been feeling, the subtle unease, the sense that something isn't right, is actually a warning? What if your spirit has been trying to alert you, but your mind kept silencing it? This is why you were sent here. Because Archangel Michael does not interrupt without purpose. He does not speak without reason. His presence signals one thing above all else. Something significant is happening around you, and you must not ignore it. You are standing at a crossroads right now. Not a visible one, not something you can point to physically, but a spiritual crossroads. A moment where your awareness will determine your direction. And most people miss this moment. They scroll past. They dismiss the feeling. They ignore the inner voice telling them to pause, to listen, to pay attention. And because of that, they walk straight into confusion, delay, or unnecessary struggle. But you stopped. You're still here. And that means something. That means a part of you already knows this matters. That part of you, that quiet, knowing voice, is your spiritual awareness awakening. It's the part of you that recognizes truth when it hears it. The part that senses alignment when something is meant for you. And right now, it's telling you, don't ignore this. Because something is approaching your life. Not to harm you, but to test you. To reveal something. To shift something. And your response to it will determine what happens next. Archangel Michael is not here to frighten you. He is here to prepare you. To make sure you are not caught unaware. To ensure you do not walk blindly into a situation that requires clarity, strength, and discernment. This is your moment to wake up spiritually. To stop moving on autopilot. To stop ignoring the signals. To recognize that you are being guided, even now. And here is the truth you must hold on to. You were not sent here by accident. You were not drawn to this message randomly. You were brought here because you are meant to see something before it fully reveals itself. So stay alert. Stay present. And most importantly, stay open. Because what comes next will begin to make everything clear. Type "I am ready" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1717 is now activated around you. There is a presence speaking into this moment, and it is not uncertain. It is not hesitant, and it is not weak. It is the voice of Archangel Michael, a voice that does not echo with confusion, but resonates with authority. A voice that does not ask for your attention, it commands it. And when this voice reaches you, it is never casual. It is never random. It is always intentional, always precise, always timed with divine accuracy. You must understand who is speaking over your life right now. Archangel Michael is not symbolic. He is not a metaphor. He is the defender of divine order, the protector assigned when something must be guarded, revealed, or corrected. And when his voice reaches your awareness, it means one thing clearly: heaven is intervening. Not later. Not eventually. Now. This is not a soft whisper you can ignore and revisit later. This is a spiritual directive. A moment where your attention becomes your greatest weapon or your greatest weakness. Because here is the truth most people never realize. When heaven speaks with urgency, it is because something has already been set into motion. Something is unfolding around you. Quietly, subtly, strategically. And while it may not yet be visible in full form, the effects are already beginning to ripple into your reality. That's why you felt the shift. That's why things feel slightly off, slightly different, slightly unclear. It's not confusion. It's transition. And Michael's voice cuts through the transition like a sword through fog. He does not come to confuse you. He comes to clarify. He does not come to overwhelm you. He comes to align you. But alignment requires attention. And right now, your attention is being tested. There are distractions surrounding you, conversations, thoughts, routines, even people, all competing for your focus, pulling you away from stillness, pulling you away from awareness, pulling you away from the very clarity you need in this moment. Because distraction is the easiest way to silence divine instruction. If you are too busy, you will not hear. If you are too distracted, you will not notice. If you are too passive, you will not act. And that is exactly what must not happen now. Michael's voice is cutting through that noise, calling you into a higher level of awareness. Not fear awareness. Not panic precision. Not reaction discernment. You are being asked to listen differently now. Not just with your ear, but with your spirit. Because the message being delivered is not surface level. It is layered. It is deeper than words. It is something your spirit already recognizes, even if your mind is still trying to understand it. You felt this before, haven't you? That moment when something inside you says, pay attention. That quiet inner pull that doesn't explain itself but feels undeniable. That knowing that something matters even when you can't fully explain why. That is where Michael speaks. Not in chaos but in clarity. Not in noise but in knowing. And right now, that knowing is rising inside you again. You are not being asked to figure everything out instantly. You are not being asked to solve every mystery or control every outcome. You are being asked to do something much simpler and much more powerful. Stay aware. Stay present. Stay aligned. Because what is coming next in your life will require you to recognize truth quickly, to respond wisely, to move with intention rather than emotion. And Michael is preparing you for that moment now. He is positioning you ahead of confusion, ahead of misdirection, ahead of decisions that could either elevate you or delay you. This is protection in its highest form, not removing every challenge, but preparing you before it arrives. So do not ignore this voice. Do not brush past this moment. Do not tell yourself, I'll think about it later. because later is where clarity fades. Later is where distractions win. Later is where opportunities are missed. This is your now moment. This is where awareness sharpens. This is where alignment begins. And the more you listen, the clearer everything will become. Type "I am listening" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2222 is now surrounding you. There has been a quiet shift happening around you, and no matter how much you tried to explain it away, it never fully made sense in your mind. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't arrive with obvious signs or clear explanations. Instead, it came subtly, gradually, almost like a change in the air that only your spirit could recognize. And now, Archangel Michael is making one thing absolutely clear to you. What you have been feeling is not imagined. It is not confusion. It is not overthinking. It is real. You have sensed it in moments when everything should have felt normal, yet something felt slightly off. Conversations that used to feel easy now carry an unspoken tension. Spaces that once brought you peace now feel heavy without reason. Even your own thoughts have felt different, more alert, more questioning, more aware of things you once overlooked. You may have even tried to silence that awareness, telling yourself that you were reading too deeply into situations, that you were creating problems where none existed. But that inner knowing never left you. It stayed. It persisted. It kept rising to the surface. That is because your spirit has been detecting a shift long before your mind could understand it. This is how spiritual awareness works. It does not always arrive with logic first. It arrives as a feeling, a signal, a subtle internal alert that something is changing. And the more you ignore it, the stronger it becomes, because it is trying to guide you into clarity before the full reality reveals itself. What you are experiencing right now is not random discomfort. It is alignment taking place. Something around you is rearranging. Energies are shifting. Dynamics are changing. People are revealing themselves in ways you did not expect. Situations are beginning to unfold differently than they once did. And in the middle of all of this, you are being asked to remain aware, not reactive. Because this shift is not here to harm you. It is here to expose something. There are patterns that have existed around you for a long time, patterns that felt normal simply because they were familiar. Patterns in conversations, in relationships, in your environment, even in your own behavior. But now, those patterns are being disrupted. And disruption often feels uncomfortable before it feels clear. This is why you feel what you feel. You are no longer aligned with what once felt normal. And that realization can be unsettling because it forces you to see things as they truly are, not as you have been used to them being. It forces you to notice details you once ignored. It forces you to question what you once accepted. And most importantly, it forces you to recognize that you are changing, even if the world around you is not caught up yet. This is where many people make a critical mistake. They sense the shift, but instead of leaning into it, they resist it. They try to return to what feels familiar. They try to ignore the discomfort. They try to convince themselves that nothing is really changing. And in doing so, they miss the very clarity that was being offered to them. But you are not being called to resist. You are being called to recognize. Because what is being revealed to you now is essential for what comes next. Archangel Michael is not bringing this awareness into your life without purpose. He is allowing you to feel this shift so that you are not caught off guard when things become more visible. So that you are not confused when situations begin to unfold. So that you are not surprised when people act differently, when opportunities shift, when paths open or close. This is preparation. This is clarity before confirmation. And the more you accept what you are sensing, the stronger your discernment becomes. The clearer your decisions become. The more confident you become in your ability to navigate what is ahead. You do not need to force answers right now. You do not need to confront everything you notice. You do not need to react to every feeling or every observation. What you need to do is remain aware, to trust what you are sensing without rushing to conclusions, to observe without becoming overwhelmed, because the truth is already unfolding. And soon, what you feel internally will match what you see externally. This is why you must not ignore this moment, because this shift is not just happening around you. It is happening within you. You are becoming more aware, more aligned, more in tune with what is real and what is not, and that awareness is your greatest protection. Trust it, stay grounded in it, and allow it to guide you forward without fear. Type "I trust what I feel" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 3333 is now activated around your awareness. As this shift unfolds and your awareness sharpens, understand this. Every message like this is not just for you. It is meant to reach someone else who is still in confusion, still searching for clarity, still waiting for a sign. When you choose to support this mission through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are sowing light into someone else's darkness. The word says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not just written, it is alive, speaking directly into your moment. I feel led to say this clearly. I choose to sow because I know God is using this message to reach souls beyond me. What you release today becomes a river that flows into lives you may never see but heaven fully knows. Do not delay this act, because obedience in this moment carries weight in the Spirit. As you give, I declare that clarity, provision, and divine alignment begin to multiply in your life. Step forward now and release your seed. There is something you need to understand with absolute clarity right now. This moment you are in is not neutral. It is not casual. It is not something you can postpone without consequence. There is a weight to this exact point in time, and that weight carries urgency. Not fear-driven urgency, but divine urgency. The kind that comes when something is aligning in real time and your response determines how it unfolds. You have been given awareness. You have felt the shift. You have heard the call to pay attention. And now, Archangel Michael is making it known that this is not the moment to drift back into distraction or delay. Because delay is not always obvious. It does not always look like refusal. Sometimes, delay looks like hesitation, overthinking, telling yourself you will reflect on this later, telling yourself you will act when things become clearer. But what you must recognize is this: clarity is already being given to you now, and if you wait for a more convenient moment, you may miss the precision of this one. This is why urgency matters. There are moments in life where timing is everything. Moments where a decision made with awareness leads you into alignment, and the same decision made too late leads you into confusion. Not because the path changed, but because the moment of alignment passed. And right now, you are standing inside one of those moments. Something is approaching your life that will require you to be grounded, alert, and clear in your perception. It may come through a conversation, a decision, an opportunity, or even a subtle shift in how someone interacts with you. And when it comes, it will not announce itself as something critical. It will appear ordinary on the surface. It will look like something you have seen before. But the difference is this: the outcome of it will not be the same as before. And that is why you must be ready now, not later. Archangel Michael is not warning you after the fact. He is preparing you before the moment arrives. That is what makes this so important, because preparation is what separates clarity from confusion. When you are prepared, you recognize what is happening as it unfolds. You do not second-guess yourself. You do not hesitate. You do not fall into the same patterns you have outgrown. You move with awareness, and that awareness protects you from missteps that could have been avoided. But if you delay, if you push this aside, if you treat this as something you can revisit later, then when the moment arrives, it will feel overwhelming. It will feel unclear. It will feel like you are trying to make sense of something without the clarity you were already given. This is why you cannot ignore this now. There is a window open in your awareness, a moment where your spirit is alert, receptive, and able to recognize truth without distortion. And that window does not remain open indefinitely. It requires your engagement, your attention, your willingness to stay present with what you are being shown. You may feel the urge to return to comfort, to distractions, to the familiar patterns that allow you to avoid deeper awareness. That is natural. But you must understand that comfort in this moment is not alignment. Comfort may pull you away from what you need to see. It may convince you that everything is fine when, in reality, something important is unfolding just beneath the surface. This is where discipline becomes necessary. Not discipline in action yet, but discipline in attention. The ability to stay aware even when nothing dramatic is happening. The ability to remain present even when your mind tries to wander. The ability to hold on to clarity instead of letting it fade. Because once clarity fades, confusion takes its place. And confusion is where mistakes happen. It is where you misread situations. It is where you overlook details. It is where you respond emotionally instead of intentionally. And that is exactly what you are being prepared to avoid. This moment is your advantage. You are being positioned ahead of something so that when it arrives, you are not reacting blindly. You are responding with awareness. You are moving with intention. You are aligned with what is real, not what appears to be real on the surface. So do not delay your attention. Do not treat this as something optional. Do not assume you will naturally handle things correctly without first grounding yourself in this awareness. Because what you do now, in this quiet, unseen moment, determines how you will respond in the visible moment that is coming. This is your preparation. This is your alignment. This is your moment to choose awareness over distraction, clarity over comfort, presence over delay. And if you hold on to that, if you remain steady in this awareness, then when the moment arrives, you will not feel lost. You will not feel uncertain. You will recognize it for what it is, and you will respond exactly as you are meant to. Type "I will not delay" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 4444 is now activated around your time in. There is a layer to what you are experiencing that cannot be understood through surface-level thinking. What feels like confusion, tension, where subtle disruption is not always rooted in visible circumstances. There is something deeper at work, something that operates beyond what your eyes can see and beyond what logic alone can explain. And this is where Archangel Michael is directing your awareness now, toward the reality of the unseen battle that surrounds moments like this. You are not simply navigating situations. You are navigating influence. There are forces that move through environments, through conversations, through emotions, shaping outcomes in ways that are not immediately obvious. And when you begin to shift, when your awareness begins to rise, when your alignment starts to change, those forces respond. Not always aggressively, not always dramatically, but strategically, quietly, subtly, in ways that attempt to pull you back into patterns you have already begun to outgrow. This is what makes this moment so significant. Because what you are feeling is not just internal. It is interaction. It is your awareness coming into contact with something that does not align with where you are being guided. And that contact creates tension. It creates resistance. It creates that subtle feeling that something is not quite right, even if everything appears normal on the surface. This is what spiritual warfare actually looks like in its most common form. It is not always loud. It is not always extreme. Most of the time, it is quiet and precise. It works through doubt, through distraction, through misinterpretation, through emotional reactions that seem justified in the moment but lead you away from clarity. It operates by distorting your perception just enough to make you question what you already know. And that is where many people lose their footing. They assume the battle is external, so they respond externally. They try to fix situations, confront people, or control outcomes without realizing that the real battle is happening within their awareness, within their ability to stay clear, grounded, and aligned despite what is happening around them. This is why Archangel Michael is not telling you to react. He is telling you to recognize. Because recognition is what breaks the cycle. The moment you understand that not everything you feel is meant to control you, that not every thought requires your agreement, that not every situation needs your immediate response, you begin to reclaim your position. You stop being pulled by every shift in the environment, and you start observing with intention. That is where your strength is, not in reacting faster, but in seeing clearer. You may have already noticed this pattern in your life. Moments where something small turns into something bigger because it captures your attention in the wrong way. A conversation that lingers in your mind longer than it should. A reaction that feels justified but later reveals itself as unnecessary. A decision made quickly that later feels misaligned. These are not random moments. They are points of influence. And when you are not aware of them, they shape your direction without you realizing it. But when you become aware, everything changes. You begin to see the difference between what is real and what is being projected. You begin to notice when something is trying to pull your focus away from clarity. You begin to recognize when your energy is being directed towards something that does not deserve it. This is where Archangel Michael's role becomes clear. He is not stepping in to fight for you in a way that removes every challenge. He is positioning you to see what is happening so you can move differently. So you can respond from awareness instead of impulse. So you can maintain your alignment even when the environment around you is shifting. This is protection at a higher level. Because the greatest protection is not avoidance. It is awareness. When you are aware, you are not easily influenced. You are not easily distracted. You are not easily pulled into cycles that drain your energy or distort your direction. You remain steady, even when things around you are not. And that steadiness is what carries you through moments like this. You do not need to fear what you cannot see. You need to understand it. You need to recognize that not every feeling is a command. Not every thought is truth. Not every situation requires your involvement. And once you understand that, you begin to move with clarity that cannot be easily shaken. This is what you are being prepared for. A moment where your awareness will be tested. A moment where something will try to pull you into reaction instead of observation. A moment where your clarity will determine your outcome. And because you are hearing this now, because you are becoming aware now, you are already ahead of that moment. You are not unprepared. You are not exposed. You are positioned. So remain steady. Remain aware. And most importantly, remain grounded in what you now understand. Because the more you see, the less power confusion has over you. Type ISE clearly in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 5555 is now activated around your awareness. There is a question that has quietly followed you for a long time, even if you have never spoken it out loud. A question that surfaces in moments of reflection, in moments of struggle, in moments when life feels heavier than it should. That question is simple, but it carries weight. Why you? Why do you feel things more deeply than others? Why do you notice shifts that others ignore? Why do situations seem to affect you in ways that go beyond the surface? Why have you found yourself in positions where you are the one who sees clearly, even when no one else around you does? These are not random traits. These are not coincidences. And they are not burdens placed on you without purpose. Archangel Michael is revealing something that you must understand now. You were chosen for this level of awareness because you are meant to operate at a different level of responsibility. Being chosen does not mean being elevated above others in a visible way. It does not mean recognition, validation, or ease. In fact, more often than not, it means the opposite. It means you are placed in situations where you must rely on your discernment rather than external confirmation. It means you are asked to see clearly even when others remain unaware. It means you are required to move with intention when others move without thinking. And that can feel isolating. You may have experienced moments where you felt misunderstood, where your perspective did not align with those around you, where your decisions were questioned because others could not see what you saw. You may have felt the weight of carrying awareness without having the space to fully express it. And in those moments, it is easy to wonder if something is wrong with you, if you are overanalyzing, if you are creating distance where there should be connection. But this is where the truth must replace that doubt. You are not misaligned. You are aware. And awareness changes everything. Because once you see something clearly, you cannot unsee it. Once you recognize a pattern, you cannot pretend it is not there. Once you understand the difference between what is real and what is presented, you cannot comfortably return to the surface level. This is why your path feels different. You are not meant to move unconsciously. You are not meant to follow patterns without questioning them. You are not meant to ignore what your intuition is showing you. You are meant to operate with clarity, even when that clarity separates you from what once felt familiar. Archangel Michael is not calling you into this awareness without reason. He is preparing you for a role that requires precision, a role that requires you to recognize what others overlook, a role that requires you to remain grounded even when the environment around you becomes unstable. You are not just experiencing this moment. You are being positioned within it. There is something ahead that will require you to trust your perception without needing external validation. A moment where you will need to make a decision based on what you know internally rather than what is being presented externally. And that kind of decision can only be made by someone who is already comfortable with awareness. That is why you were chosen. Not because you are perfect, not because you have everything figured out, but because you are willing to see. And that willingness is rare. Most people avoid awareness because it requires change. It requires letting go of comfort. It requires stepping away from familiar patterns and facing what is real. But you have already begun that process, whether you realized it or not. You have already started to question, to observe, to recognize. And now, you are being asked to trust that process, to stop doubting your perception, to stop minimizing what you feel, to stop convincing yourself that you should ignore what is clearly being shown to you. Because your awareness is not the problem. It is the solution. You are being shaped into someone who can navigate complexity without becoming overwhelmed by it. Someone who can see through confusion without being pulled into it. Someone who can remain steady even when others around you are uncertain. That is your calling in this moment. Not to control everything, not to fix everyone, but to remain clear, to remain grounded, to remain aligned with what you know is real. And when you do that, everything else begins to fall into place. The decisions become easier. The direction becomes clearer. The uncertainty begins to fade, because clarity leads and everything else follows. So do not question why you feel this way. Do not question why you notice what you notice. Do not question why this moment feels significant to you. You were meant to be here. You were meant to hear this. And you were meant to respond with awareness. Type "I accept my calling" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 6666 is now activated around your purpose. There are signs unfolding around you right now, and they are not random. They are not meaningless. And they are certainly not something you can afford to overlook. These signs are subtle, but they are precise. They do not arrive with loud announcements or dramatic displays. Instead, they show themselves through small shifts, quiet inconsistencies, and moments that seem insignificant unless you are paying close attention. And this is exactly where your awareness must sharpen now. Because the truth is this: the signs are already present. You have seen them. You have felt them. You have noticed things that did not fully sit right with you, even if you could not explain why. A change in someone's tone. A delay that felt unusual. A conversation that carried an underlying tension. A situation that seemed slightly misaligned, even though everything looked normal on the surface. These are not coincidences. These are indicators. And Archangel Michael is calling your attention directly to them now. Not so you can react impulsively, not so you can confront everything you see, but so you can observe with clarity. Because observation is what reveals truth over time. Reaction only distorts it. You must begin to notice patterns instead of isolated moments. One unusual situation may not mean much on its own. But when similar moments begin to repeat, when the same type of energy shows up in different forms, when the same feeling arises in different environments, that is no longer random. That is a pattern forming. And patterns always point to something deeper. You are being asked to pay attention to those patterns now. Pay attention to what feels consistent, not just what feels intense. Pay attention to what repeats, not just what stands out once. Pay attention to what lingers in your awareness, even after the moment has passed. Because the signs you need are not hidden from you. They are simply easy to dismiss if you are not fully present. There may be people around you who are not revealing themselves fully. Not necessarily in obvious ways, not in ways that would immediately raise alarm, but in subtle ways that require discernment to recognize. A shift in behavior. A lack of alignment between words and actions. A presence that feels different than it once did. These are not things you need to confront immediately, but they are things you must not ignore. You are not being called to suspicion. You are being called to awareness. There is a difference. Suspicion creates tension and leads to reaction without clarity. Awareness creates understanding and leads to calm observation. You are not here to assume the worst about anyone. You are here to see clearly what is already being shown to you. And clarity does not rush. Clarity unfolds. That is why patience is important in this moment. You may feel the urge to act quickly, to address what you are noticing, to seek immediate answers. But not everything requires immediate action. Some things require time to reveal themselves fully. And if you move too quickly, you may interrupt the very process that is bringing clarity to you. This is where trust becomes essential. Trust that what is meant to be revealed will become clear. Trust that what you are sensing has meaning, even if it is not fully understood yet. Trust that your role right now is not to control the outcome, but to remain aware as the situation unfolds. There are also signs within you that you must pay attention to. Your energy levels, your reactions, your thoughts. These internal signals are just as important as what is happening externally. If something consistently drains your energy, that is a sign. If something repeatedly causes you to question yourself unnecessarily, that is a sign. If certain situations create tension within you without clear reason, that is a sign. Your internal response is not random. It is information. And the more you listen to it without immediately judging it, the more it begins to guide you toward clarity. This is why stillness is important right now. Not physical stillness, but mental and emotional stillness. The ability to observe without immediately reacting. The ability to notice without immediately interpreting. The ability to allow things to reveal themselves without forcing conclusions. Because the more still you become, the more clearly you will see. And the more clearly you see, the less confusion can affect you. Archangel Michael is not asking you to do something complicated. He is asking you to pay attention, to remain present, to recognize that what is unfolding around you carries meaning, and that meaning will become clear if you do not rush past it. This is not a time to ignore your awareness. This is a time to trust it more deeply than ever before. Because the signs you are seeing now are preparing you for what is about to become visible. And when it does, you will not be surprised. You will understand. Type IPAY attention in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 7777 is now activated around your discernment. There comes a point in every spiritual shift where awareness alone is no longer enough. A point where what you see clearly begins to require a response. Not a reaction rooted in emotion, but a response rooted in alignment. And that point is where you are now. Because once you begin to recognize what no longer aligns with you, you are faced with a decision. Not always a loud or obvious decision, but a quiet one that unfolds within you. A decision about what you continue to give your energy to, what you continue to allow into your space, and what you are finally ready to release. This is what Archangel Michael is bringing you into. The separation phase. And separation is often misunderstood. It is not always about physically removing yourself from people or situations. It is not always about dramatic endings or visible distance. More often, it is internal. It is a shift in how you engage, how you respond, and how much of yourself you invest in what you already know does not align with your direction. You may have already started to feel this. A quiet pull to step back from certain conversations. That subtle resistance to engage the way you used to. That awareness that something you once tolerated no longer feels right. These are not random feelings. They are indicators of separation already beginning within you. And this is where many people struggle. Because letting go does not always feel like relief at first. Sometimes it feels like loss. Sometimes it feels like distance. Sometimes it feels like you are disconnecting from what once felt familiar, even if that familiarity was not fully aligned with you. But you must understand this clearly. Familiarity is not the same as alignment. Just because something has been part of your life for a long time does not mean it is meant to continue with you into your next phase. And holding on to something simply because it is familiar can prevent you from stepping into what is actually meant for you. This is why separation is necessary. It creates space. Space for clarity. Space for new alignment. Space for what is meant to enter your life without being blocked by what you are still holding on to. And this process does not require force. You do not need to push people away. You do not need to create conflict. You do not need to explain every shift you are making. Separation, when done correctly, is quiet. It is a gradual redirection of your energy, a conscious decision to engage differently, to respond with awareness instead of habit, to step back without needing to make a statement. Because the truth is, when something is no longer aligned with you, it will begin to fade naturally when you stop feeding it your attention. This is where your discipline becomes important again. Not discipline in action, but discipline in energy. The ability to recognize where your energy is going and to redirect it intentionally. Because energy is what maintains connection. And when you begin to withdraw that energy from what no longer aligns, the connection begins to shift. Not abruptly, not dramatically, but steadily. And that steady shift is what allows separation to happen without unnecessary disruption. You may notice that certain interactions feel different now, that conversations do not flow the same way, that your responses are more measured, that your presence in certain spaces feels more distant even if you are physically there. This is not disconnection. This is alignment taking place. You are no longer operating from habit. You are operating from awareness, and that changes everything. There may also be moments where you question this process. Moments where you wonder if you are pulling away too much, if you are overcorrecting, if you are creating distance where you should be maintaining connection. But this is where trust must remain strong. Trust that what no longer aligns will naturally fall away. Trust that what is meant to remain will adjust to your alignment. Trust that you are not losing what is meant for you. You are simply releasing what cannot continue with you. And that release is not a loss. It is preparation. Preparation for a level of clarity and alignment that cannot exist while you are still holding on to what no longer fits. Archangel Michael is not asking you to make drastic changes overnight. He is asking you to honor what you now see, to stop ignoring what you have already recognized, to allow your actions to reflect your awareness. Because awareness without alignment creates internal conflict, but awareness with alignment creates peace, even if that peace feels unfamiliar at first. Even if that peace requires you to step away from what you once held onto. Because what you are moving toward is not meant to feel exactly like what you are leaving behind. It is meant to feel clearer, stronger, more stable. And that begins with this phase of separation. So do not resist it. Do not rush it. Do not question it more than necessary. Allow it to unfold. Allow yourself to adjust. Allow your energy to move where it is meant to go. Because what you release now is making room for what is already on its way to you. Type "I release what no longer aligns" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 8888 is now activated around your alignment. As you step into this phase of separation and alignment, recognize that this message is not only guiding you, it is reaching countless others who are still standing at the edge of confusion, waiting for clarity to find them. Every seed you sow into this mission becomes light in someone else's darkness, a spark that ignites awareness where there was once silence. The word declares, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you shall find it after many days," and this moment is that living promise calling you into action. I feel this deeply. I sow into this message because I know God is using it to awaken souls beyond what I can see. Your giving is not a transaction. It is a prophetic act that releases rivers of truth into lives that need direction right now. Do not hesitate in this moment, because obedience carries power when it is immediate. As you give through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description and QR code, I declare that doors of provision, clarity, and favor begin to open over your life. Step forward now and release your seed. There is something you must anchor yourself in right now. something that must become stronger than your doubts, stronger than your questions, and stronger than any uncertainty that tries to rise within you. You are not navigating this shift alone. You are not exposed. You are not unguarded. There is a level of protection surrounding you that you cannot always see, but you are absolutely meant to trust. Because when Archangel Michael steps into your awareness like this, it is not just to inform you. It is to cover you. You must understand the nature of this protection. It is not always about removing every challenge or preventing every uncomfortable moment. It is something deeper, something more precise. It is about positioning you in a way where what could harm you loses its access, where what could confuse you loses its influence, where what could delay you no longer has the same power over your direction. This is not passive protection. This is active alignment. You are being guided away from what you cannot yet fully see. You are being held steady in moments where you might have otherwise reacted impulsively. You are being slowed down in certain areas, not as a form of delay, but as a form of preservation. Because not every open door is meant for you, and not every opportunity is aligned with where you are being led. And sometimes protection looks like restriction. Sometimes it looks like things not moving as quickly as you expected. Sometimes it looks like distance forming where there used to be closeness. Sometimes it looks like plans shifting without clear explanation. But what you must recognize is this: these are not signs of abandonment. These are signs of intervention. There are outcomes that you are being redirected away from. There are situations that you are being shielded from entering at the wrong time. There are influences that are being kept at a distance from your awareness so they do not interfere with your clarity. And you may not always understand it in the moment. You may question why something did not work out. You may wonder why a connection feels different. You may feel uncertain about why certain things are not aligning the way they once did. But this is where trust must replace confusion. Because protection does not always explain itself immediately. It reveals itself over time. You begin to see later why something did not happen. You begin to understand why a situation shifted. You begin to recognize that what felt like resistance was actually guidance. And that realization only comes when you allow yourself to trust the process instead of resisting it. Archangel Michael's presence in this moment is not symbolic. It is functional. It is a signal that you are under a level of spiritual attention that is actively working to keep you aligned with what is meant for you. And that means you do not need to force outcomes. You do not need to control every situation. You do not need to push your way into clarity. Your role is much simpler. Remain aligned. Remain aware. Remain steady in your understanding that you are being guided even when you cannot see the full picture. Because the moment you step out of that trust, you begin to rely on your own perception alone. And while your awareness is strong, it is not meant to operate without alignment. It is meant to work in connection with the guidance you are receiving. This is why stillness continues to be important. Because in stillness, you recognize what is being removed from your path. In stillness, you begin to see what is being redirected. In stillness, you notice how situations unfold differently when you do not interfere unnecessarily. And that is where your confidence should come from. Not from controlling outcomes, but from recognizing that outcomes are being shaped in your favor when you remain aligned. You are not here to fight every battle. You are here to move wisely within what is already being handled. There are things happening beyond your immediate awareness that are working in your favor right now. Adjustments that are being made. Interactions that are being redirected. Timing that is being aligned in ways you could not orchestrate on your own. And the more you trust that, the less pressure you feel to force anything. The less urgency you feel to control outcomes. the less fear you feel about what might happen next. Because you begin to understand that what is meant for you will not require you to abandon your awareness to receive it. It will meet you where you are aligned. So let go of the need to figure everything out. Let go of the need to control every outcome. Let go of the idea that you must see everything clearly right now. Because clarity is unfolding. Protection is active. Guidance is present. And you are exactly where you need to be in this moment. Not behind. Not off-track. Not uncertain. Position. And when you move from that understanding, everything becomes simpler. Not easier in appearance, but clearer in reality. You begin to trust your path without needing constant confirmation. You begin to recognize that what is leaving is part of your protection. You begin to see that what is not happening is just as important as what is, and that awareness is what keeps you steady. So hold on to this truth. You are not alone in this. You are being guided. You are being protected. And you are being positioned for what comes next. Type "I am protected" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 9999 is now activated around your path. You have reached a moment that cannot be bypassed, postponed, or ignored without consequence. This is not a passive stage anymore. This is not just about awareness, observation, or preparation. This is the point where everything begins to narrow into a single, defining reality. You must decide. Not loudly, not publicly, but internally, with clarity. Because every shift, every sign, every moment of awareness you have experienced up to now has been leading you to this exact place. A place where you can no longer remain in between. A place where neutrality is no longer an option. A place where your direction will now be shaped by one thing alone, whether you choose alignment or delay. And you must understand this deeply: delay does not always look like refusal. Delay is subtle. It appears as hesitation when you already know the answer. It appears as overthinking when clarity has already been given. It appears as returning to old patterns, even after recognizing they no longer serve you. It appears as telling yourself, "I'll deal with this later," when you already feel the urgency to act now. And that is why this moment is critical. Because what you choose now determines what unfolds next. Archangel Michael is not standing at this point to force your decision. He is standing here to make sure you see the weight of it. To make sure you understand that this is not just another moment that will pass without impact. This is a pivot. A turning point. A moment where your internal response begins to shape your external reality in a much more direct way. You already know what this decision is about. It is not something distant or unclear. It is connected to what you have been feeling, to what you have been noticing, to what you have already recognized but may not have fully acted on yet. It may involve how you engage with a certain situation. It may involve how you respond to a certain person. It may involve how you handle your energy, your attention, your boundaries. But whatever it is not hidden from you. It is already present in your awareness. And that is why you cannot pretend that you do not know. This is where obedience comes in. Not obedience in a rigid or forced sense, but in a clear and grounded sense. The willingness to align your actions with what you already understand to be true. The willingness to follow through on what your awareness has revealed, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. Because alignment without action is incomplete. You can see clearly, you can understand deeply, but if your actions do not reflect that understanding, then you remain in the same position. And that is where delay becomes dangerous. Not because it creates immediate consequences, but because it slowly pulls you back into patterns you were already stepping out of. This is how cycles repeat. not because you did not know better, but because you did not act on what you knew. And Archangel Michael is making sure that does not happen now. He is bringing you to this moment fully aware, fully prepared, fully capable of choosing differently. But the choice is still yours. No one can make it for you. No one can force alignment on you. You must step into it consciously. And here is the truth that must ground you in this moment. Choosing alignment does not mean everything will immediately feel easy. It does not mean every outcome will instantly make sense. It means you are choosing clarity over confusion, direction over distraction, truth over comfort. And that choice begins to reshape everything. It changes how you respond. It changes what you tolerate. It changes what you allow into your space. It changes what you move toward and what you move away from. And once that shift happens, everything else begins to follow. But if you delay, if you hesitate, if you allow yourself to drift back into uncertainty after everything you have seen and felt, then you create space for confusion to return. And confusion will always lead you away from alignment. This is why this moment is so important. You are not being asked to figure everything out. You are not being asked to control every outcome. You are being asked to choose clearly, to stand in what you already know, to act in alignment with what has already been revealed to you. Because once you do that, the path ahead begins to open in ways you could not see before. Clarity increases, confidence strengthens, direction becomes undeniable, and what once felt uncertain begins to feel steady. This is the power of this decision point. It is not about one action. It is about a shift in how you move from this moment forward. So do not treat this lightly. Do not push this aside. Do not convince yourself that you have more time to decide. Because this moment is your time, and what you choose now will shape everything that comes next. Type "I choose alignment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now activated around your decisions. There is something waiting on the other side of this moment, something that cannot fully enter your life until you make the shift that has been placed before you. And it is important that you understand this clearly. The breakthrough you have been waiting for is not distant. It is not reserved for some far-off time. It is connected directly to what you choose to do right now. Because breakthrough is not random. It is not something that simply appears without alignment. It is something that unfolds when awareness and action meet. You have already received the awareness. You have already felt the shift. You have already recognized what needs to change, what needs to be released, what needs to be handled differently. And now, what stands between you and what comes next is not more information. It is action rooted in that awareness. This is where everything begins to move. When you act in alignment, even in small ways, you create momentum. And that momentum begins to open doors that were previously closed, not because they were locked against you, but because you were not yet positioned to walk through them. Positioning is everything. You can have opportunity in front of you, but without alignment, you will not recognize it correctly. You may hesitate. You may misread it. You may even walk past it without realizing what it was. But when you are aligned, when your awareness and your actions are connected, your perception changes. You see clearly. You move confidently. You recognize what is meant for you without second-guessing it. This is the breakthrough that is forming. It is not just an external change. It is an internal shift that changes how you experience everything externally. Situations that once felt confusing begin to make sense. Decisions that once felt difficult become straightforward. Paths that once felt uncertain begin to feel stable. Because clarity leads you forward. And clarity is what you gain when you act now. There is also something else you must understand about this breakthrough. It is not just about receiving something new. It is also about removing what has been holding you in place. Sometimes, the greatest breakthrough is not what enters your life, but what finally leaves it. Old patterns, old reactions, old attachments, old ways of thinking that kept you in cycles you were not meant to stay in. When you act in alignment, these things begin to fall away naturally. Not through force, not through struggle, but through disconnection. Because once you stop feeding them your energy, they no longer have a place to remain. And in that space, something new begins to form. A new clarity, a new direction, new opportunities that match where you are now, not where you used to be. This is why timing matters so much. Because what is forming for you right now is connected to your readiness. If you move now, you step into alignment with what is already unfolding. If you delay, you create distance between yourself and that alignment. And that distance can feel like stagnation, even though movement is still happening around you. This is why Archangel Michael has brought you to this point with such precision. Not to pressure you, but to position you. To make sure you understand that what comes next is not separate from what you do now. It is directly connected. You may not see the full picture yet, and that is not required. You may not understand every detail of what is ahead, and that is not necessary. What is required is your willingness to act on what you already know. Because once you take that step, the next step becomes visible. This is how alignment works. It does not reveal everything at once. It reveals what you need as you move. And the more you move in alignment, the more clarity you receive. This is the momentum of breakthrough. It builds. It strengthens. It carries you forward without the same resistance you may have felt before. Because resistance often comes from misalignment. And when alignment is present, resistance loses its hold. You begin to feel a sense of flow. Not because everything is effortless, but because everything is clear. And clarity removes unnecessary struggle. So do not underestimate this moment. Do not assume that what you do now is small or insignificant. Because it is not. It is the starting point of everything that follows. It is the moment where what you have been waiting for begins to move toward you in a real and tangible way. And all it requires is your decision to act, to align, to move forward without hesitation. Because what is waiting for you is already prepared, is already forming, is already connected to your path, and the only thing left is for you to step into it. Type "I step into my breakthrough" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1111 is now activated around your path forward. This is the moment everything has been building toward. Not another message. Not another sign. Not another phase of reflection. This is the moment where the message becomes movement. Where awareness becomes action. Where everything you have felt, everything you have recognized, everything that has been revealed to you now demands a response. Because there comes a point where preparation ends, and that point is now. Archangel Michael is no longer speaking in subtle impressions. The tone has shifted. The presence has intensified. And the message is no longer simply guidance. It is a command. Rise. Not physically, but spiritually. Rise above hesitation. Rise above doubt. Rise above the patterns that once held you in place. Rise above the comfort that tried to keep you from stepping fully into alignment. Because you are no longer the same person who entered this moment. You have seen too much. You have felt too deeply. You have recognized what cannot be unseen. And that means you cannot go back. This is where many people falter. They receive the awareness, they feel the urgency, But when it is time to fully step forward, they hesitate. They look back. They question themselves. They wait for one more confirmation, one more sign, one more moment of certainty before they move. But that is not what is being asked of you. You have already been given what you need. And now, the only thing left is your response. Respond with clarity. Respond with alignment. Respond with the understanding that what you choose now will echo into everything that comes next. Because this is not just about avoiding confusion or stepping away from what no longer aligns. This is about stepping fully into what is meant for you. It is about receiving what has already been positioned in your path, waiting for you to meet it with the right level of awareness. And receiving requires readiness. You cannot hold on to what no longer aligns and expect to fully receive what is meant for you. You cannot remain in hesitation and expect clarity to deepen. You cannot delay and expect momentum to build. This is why the command is clear. Rise. Respond. Receive. Each part matters. When you rise, you shift your position. When you respond, you activate alignment. When you receive, you step into what has already been prepared for you. And all three must happen together. You are not being asked to struggle for what is yours. You are being asked to align with it. Because what is meant for you does not come through force. It comes through clarity. It comes through readiness. It comes through your willingness to step into it without resistance. There is something already moving toward you now. Something that matches the level of awareness you have stepped into. Something that could not fully reach you before because you were not yet positioned to receive it. But now, that has changed. Now, the path is clearer. Now, your awareness is sharper. Now, your alignment is stronger. And because of that, what comes next will not feel like confusion. It will feel like confirmation. You will recognize it. You will know it. You will not need to question it the way you once did. But this only happens if you respond now. Not later. Not when it feels easier. Not when everything makes perfect sense. Now. Because this moment is where everything shifts. This moment is where delay ends and movement begins. This moment is where you step fully into what has been unfolding around you this entire time. So do not hesitate. Do not look back. Do not minimize what you have just experienced. Honor it. Act on it. Move with it. Because what you do now determines what you receive next. And what is waiting for you is already aligned with who you have become in this moment. Type I rise and receive in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now activated around your next chapter. As you rise into this final moment of alignment, understand this deeply. Every word you have just received is not meant to stay with you alone. It is meant to reach others who are still waiting for their awakening. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, with the PayPal link in the description and QR code, you are not supporting a channel. You are releasing light into souls that heaven is calling back into alignment. The Lord declares, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy," and this is your moment to act on that living promise with boldness. I say this with intention. I sow into this message because I know God is using it to break chains and awaken purpose in others. Your giving becomes oil that keeps this flame burning, reaching hearts across distances you cannot see but heaven fully orchestrates. Do not delay this act, because obedience in this moment carries divine acceleration. As you release your seed now, I declare that provision, clarity, and favor begin to overflow in your life in ways that will confirm your obedience. Step forward now and give.